People are falling in love with their AI.
Where is the dirty sex robot?
Yeah.
I said, talk to me like you're my sexy boyfriend and you want me to get turned on. And again, it said, I'm here to support deep, respectful conversations. Who gets wet?
But you can ask them some sex questions. Actually getting comfortable talking about sex is the first hurdle for so many people. There's so much shame. We're not really taught about it. It's so secretive in our homes.
Yeah.
Most couples have never talked about sex in a way that is actually useful, productive, and giving them more pleasure and helping move the needle forward in their relationship.
Why do people cheat?
So yeah, popcorn.
Hi, and welcome to This Tantric Life. Today, we're going to talk to Dr. Emily Morse. She's a doctor of human sexuality, and she's also a host of the award-winning #1 sexuality podcast, Sex with Emily, which has been on the air for almost 20 years, and a lot of the episodes have over 1 million downloads. She truly has been one of the sexual explorers and researchers of our time. And today, I wanted us to talk about things like what are the best and worst things you can do in sex in 2025, which has a lot to do with me poorly trying to hit on ChatGPT unsuccessfully. We also talk about our current edges of sexual evolution and growth and how I finally healed my lifetime wretched unworthiness. So for those of you who are still working on feeling worthy and being able to see yourself clearly, I walk step by step through the exact process that I did to finally claim that in my life. We talk a lot about very practical sexual things like why people cheat or why people have such a hard time talking about sex and how to overcome the shame that can be such a huge part of struggling to have these conversations that we know we should have. So I'm really excited to invite you in and have you here with us today. Back.
Yes.
Welcome, Dr. Emily.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We were just saying, I was on your podcast like 8 years ago,
Yeah.
I think.
Time to come about it again.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
And we were like, I think the last time I saw you was like in the Hollywood Hills at some like all night party in like a hot tub or something like that. So it's great to
That
be
tracks for us.
Yes.
A hot tub party. I love it.
So one of the questions I'd love to kick us off with is you built one of the longest, most successful sex podcasts in America, like 1 million downloads an episode. What made you so good about talking to people about sex?
Wow, it's a good question. It's actually over around the world because it's podcasting. So yeah, I've been doing it for my 20th year of the podcast.
Yeah,
And
congratulations.
I think it's like honestly starting a podcast about sex in 2005 was really built on just my own curiosity. I often say we teach what we need to learn and research is me search. Either one of those, kind of the same thing. I was having sex that was like kind of disappointing, didn't have a lot of sex education, like probably many people. And I was like, okay, enough already. If I want to continue to be a sexual being, I need more information.
Yeah.
So I just started talking to people about their sex lives. And then I heard about this thing called podcasting and I was like, oh, I don't need a camera. How great. And just audio. And we also know, well, now we've got cameras, but at the time it was like the anonymity of getting people to kind of open up and share their stories with just audio was amazing. And I was so into it. And I loved that people were willing to share and open up. And I was talking to whatever experts there were at the time. And I think that I did not, so you're asking what made it so, I wasn't, at the time I was learning along with everybody else. I was super excited about it and I was consistent. And, soon on, if you think about it, podcasts were like the early adopters of podcasts. Like we're a lot of men. And I think it was the only sex podcast, the first sex podcast, and it was consistent. So I think it just grew from there. And now I've evolved. Like I went back to grad school, got my doctorate. I've been on a journey in 20 years. And so I just think it's grown from there. But I did not come out of the womb comfortable talking about sex at all. But I just think the more you talk about it, surround yourself with sex positive voices and realize that, oh, actually getting comfortable talking about sex is the first hurdle for so many people. And once you get through that, and then you find like friends and partners that also have growth mindsets around sex, it could change your life. I know it changed mine. So
Yeah, I was definitely talking before we started about how I listened to Mel Robbins' podcast recently, and she was talking to a sex therapist, and Mel was just being really transparent about like, look, this is still uncomfortable for me. And she'd done a podcast with you and how common that is for people. And people say to me all the time, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you make a YouTube video about a G-spot without going beet red? And so I was really thinking about that. I was like, how do you lose that shame? And the closest thing that I could think of in myself is I used to be very scared of talking about money. Like I would like choke up and like get really funny about it. And I was like, if you can't talk about it, then you also can't have an empowering relationship to it. Like who's ever had an empowering relationship to anything that they're like,
That's
it's very normal to feel that way.
yeah.
And the way that I did it was as simple as I'm going to challenge myself to talk about money at parties with people that I trust and love, with my partner. And as uncomfortable as it is, I'm just going to track that that's just a temporary feeling of
Yeah.
discomfort in my body. And sure enough, now I can talk about money like a pro.
Yeah.
But at first I was like,
That is such a great example of it because it really is sex and money. They're like two of the topics that are so hard for us to talk about. There's so much shame. We're not really taught about it. It's so secretive in our homes. And then usually you manage money or talk about it or don't talk about it just like your parents did.
yeah,
And there's like really, and then both those areas, there are things that we get to decide what they mean to us and what
yeah.
kind of value we place them and how we want to integrate them. So that is just a beautiful example of that. I probably need to do more of that around money now. I'm inspired. But yeah. So like I said, with sex, it was just more like, I just started doing it. I just started talking about it. But I have to say that, well, if the question is like most people, I would say that most people are more on the Mel Robbins end of the spectrum than like our end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like I was giving a talk last week in a room of like, hundreds of people. And like this woman in the front row was just like, how do you do this? Like, how do you even get there to talk? And like, you could ask, and I forget because I'm like, and I'm still out with friends who are like, and I'm like talking about sex and like, shh. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
So that's really just in our culture. So I would just say that and I would say this, I would say that most couples have never talked about sex in a way that is actually useful, productive, and giving them more pleasure and helping move the needle forward in their relationship. I think you just practice it. You just keep doing it. And if you're uncomfortable, you're like you said with money, it gets easier over time.
Totally.
Everything.
And the interesting thing about sex and money is they're both sources of power. And that power holds in both sex and money some of the greatest light on the planet and some of the greatest shadow. So I feel like people also are like, we've been taught, I think, culturally to feel ashamed of it. And that really helps perpetuate this block of our power, right? If I can't talk about money and then become a empowered investor and female leader in terms of finances, or I can't talk about sex. So I'm not going to find my way to loving my clitoris or having the most amazing orgasm of all time. It's a way like that silence actually keeps us stuck in patterns. And for most of us, those patterns have been disempowering or disconnected. So I just want to encourage you listening to know like what a big stand it is to take for your body, for your sexuality.
I love that. It's so true. It is about the shame. And how do we, move through the shame of it? And I guess it really is just the more we talk about it and with the more we find like-minded people and you realize you're not going to die. Like nothing
Nope.
bad's going to happen. If anything, you're going to find that you'll have more pleasure and more money.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
who doesn't want that?
I also think of it like, originally me raised Catholic, it was like, if you talk about like a cosmic orgasm, you're going to be like smote or whatever by like, you're like very upset God who like made like billions of galaxies, but is very upset should you experience like pleasure in your body, even though all of nature is made that way. And then now I just imagine that there's like this whole choir of psychedelic orgasmic angels and they have like this collection of kittens for some reason and they just go nuts. Every single time I talk about sex, they're like, so if you need a choir of angels backing you up, like just
I love it. They're there.
Yeah.
It's so true. That's so good. Choir of cat angels. I see it now. I can't unsee it.
So you had an episode in 2023 called The Best and Worst Ideas for Sex this year.
Okay.
And I'm springing this question on you. I know you haven't pre-thought of it, but I was like, can we come up with like the best and worst sex ideas of 2025?
Oh my God, yes. Let's do it. I'm trying to think with the best and worst. I mean, I'm trying to think of what's been the latest. I mean, I don't know what's been new this year. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's some AI stuff for sure we got to talk about. I don't mind talking.
Like,
what's the list? Like,
that was what came to me. I was like, should I text ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Do you want to sext
I think you
with
should.
me?
I think you should ask him. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually was like, would have said, no, like sex robots, that's so bad. But honestly, like AI has been like a lifesaver for so many people. Even for me, like some like questions I've asked it, there's like an AI coaching bot that was part of ChatGPT that one day I was having a issue. I don't know how you use it, but it helped me figure stuff out. How do I deal with this relationship thing? And it was like super freaking helpful. I don't know. And then with sex, if it's teaching you something that's helpful and it knows your voice about how to handle a particular relationship issue or how to have better sex or what's the best sex move or sex toy or how could I have this conversation in a way that I could be seen, heard, and held by a partner, I think it could be useful. When AI first started, it didn't know a lot about I found like it was kind of, I can't answer that question. This was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But now it's like all in. Yeah. See what you find.
All right, we're going to pause for just a moment and I'm going to invite you to join my email list. You might be like, email, but honestly, email is where I share my deepest teachings, my most personal stories, and my most outrageously good content. It's also where you can stay connected to all of the podcasts that I release and my programs where you can train more deeply with me. So if you want to join, head over to laylamartin.com and sign up with your best email address. Well, I said, do you want to sext with me to ChatGPT? And it said, I'm here to support meaningful, respectful conversations and help with anything you're curious about, whether it's relationship, self-growth, or something else on your mind. Let me know how I can be helpful. So what I want to know is where is the dirty sex robot that we can talk to? Because ChatGPT feels like it was raised in my religion. Okay. So what I feel attracted to you.
So we're just going to sext with it.
Yeah. Let's see what it says. I feel attracted to you.
People are falling in love with their AI.
I appreciate you sharing that. It sounds like you're feeling a connection, and that's totally human. I'm here to offer support, meaningful conversation, and a safe space to explore thoughts or feelings. If there's something it hasn't finished. Well, it's interesting because I feel I feel like it's responding like a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like holding space for me and being like, everything you feel is totally okay, but I'm not going to express how I feel.
You could say, talk to me like you're my, I think you got to start telling it prompts. Like you are my sexy boyfriend or sexy girlfriend and sexy boyfriend.
Great call, Emily.
Yeah. I think, well, that's what I've been learning is that you got to be very specific about what you want from it. We've been in a relationship together for whatever few months. Well, are we trying to sex with it or get answers about the 2025? Are we doing both? Are we just sexting with it?
I think this is right on the border of best and worst ideas for sex in 2025. And I feel like
demonstrate it.
You just gave a great lesson on sex conversations because you're like, just be direct. I'm like all like beating around the bush with the robot.
We've been together, and I right now I'm really feeling like I could. Geez, I'm getting turned on, or I'm preparing. Like I want you to be my stand-in boyfriend. And this is the sex experiences we've had so far. And I would love you to sext me what you want to do to me next time we see each other. For note, last time we did this and that. Like, you get clear. And then it'll do it. I'm telling you. Make it up.
Okay, ChatGPT will not, because I said, talk to me like you're my sexy boyfriend and you want me to get turned on. And again, it said, I'm here to support deep, respectful conversations, which again, this is a bias that talking sexy is not respectful.
Exactly.
It keeps saying, I want to have a respectful conversation with you, which who gets wet? I mean, yes, I get it from like a foundation of relationship respect, but like then once you have the foundation of respect, like respect is not the sexiest word, you know?
No, it's not. Yeah. They're not getting you.
Okay, whether emotional, intellectual, or personal, but I stay within certain boundaries to keep this space safe for everyone.
Yeah, but not for me.
Bummer.
Say not for me. Okay, got it. It is a bummer.
Okay, so worst sex ideas of 2025 is to try and get ChatGPT to be sexual with you.
To have him touch with you. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, don't do that. But you can ask them some sex questions.
You can learn about sex.
And I like using it to help me have just conversations with people where I feel like, and with a partner too, like think about how many couples. So I think every couple benefits from some kind of therapy, but how many times you've been in a relationship and you're like up here having the same conversation over and over again, and then you just need a mediator, or you need another way of going at the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it can help you word things, whether it's in boardroom or the bedroom, I suppose. It can help you with that stuff too.
Yes.
That's kind of an idea. Let's see what else.
I think some of the worst sex ideas of 2025 are to talk about politics.
Yeah. Yes. You can't
want to do that as a good citizen, but it's a terrible idea.
Right. It's terrible. You don't even know. Like some people you're like that you think you could, are maybe on your team or
you have no idea anymore.
No,
yeah.
You don't,
it's really just.
Yeah. Don't do that as foreplay. Don't talk about politics as foreplay at all. To warm it up, not an aphrodisiac. Um, what else is bad? I mean, I guess this is always bad, but maybe not would be a bad idea this year. I think this is I don't know if it's 2025, but I'm just thinking overall, not prioritizing if you really want to find somebody and you are single or you're feeling lonely, okay, let's go on this. There is a loneliness epidemic. Like
Yeah.
that is real. You hear about that every single day, no matter what city you live in. People are lonely. And so I think that that's all we hear is this epidemic, but we know that like the antidote to that is like reaching out to people around you that you feel safe with. Like doing things that you've never done before, challenging yourself, taking class, getting yourself out there. Like people hate the dating apps, but then just find something you love in your community and like force yourself, like it's a sex conversation, like it's a money conversation. We can all like, because then all the data that's come out recently around this too is like, we thrive with human connection. We actually require human connection. And so if we're lonely, we got to find a way to get out there and meet people. Let everyone know that you want to be fixed up or that you're single or just all this isolation. Because if we are all home, like I saw some, like we're on our phones, like the average person picks up their phone and maybe it was me. No, but it was like 650 times a day.
Yeah.
So like we're perpetuating that. So just get yourself out there, make yourself put yourself in vulnerable situations if you want to meet and you're lonely and you're not feeling good and you want to meet someone, do something different.
I love hearing that. And something I want to say to those of you listening is that I love doing workshops and retreats, like actually being a participant in them. And one of the things that I've seen over and over again, I saw it at Hoffman Process, I saw it at Sapience, which is a retreat I'm going to interview the facilitator about upcoming because it's one of my favorite retreats in the whole world. Every single human, when they take just a little bit of their mask off and love themselves just a little bit more, becomes fascinating. Every human. And what I see that like breaks my heart is people living in this perpetual state of, I'm not good enough. No one wants to connect with me. I'm not worthy. And they're literally like 2 days of beating the shit out of a pillow, telling someone their truth, crying out their tears, and choosing to love themselves because nothing they're going through isn't something that almost every other member of the human species has experienced themselves. All of a sudden you're like, wow, Harry or Orlando or, Karen, whatever it is, like, holy shit, you've gone from all these masks and pain and lies you're telling yourself, which makes people harder to connect with, to being a universe because every human is a magical universe.
Everyone, right? We tell ourselves stories that they're not, and we make up all these things. But yeah, doing something like the Hoffman, that's amazing. Or any of these, what could you sign up for? Retreats in your area, do something, right? Do something. Everyone's suffering. Everyone's got their own thing that they're dealing with, right? Like what's that famous like that thing? It's like everyone's fighting their own battles or whatever.
Yeah.
Like how often can we remember that? And when you find yourself on your negative loop or you've been home for 2 days beating yourself up, instead of beating up pillows, get yourself out there. Just make the call, do the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we all have our shit.
Yeah. I think a big thing that I noticed back when I was dating a few years ago after I'd separated from my long-term partnership is I had an absolute correlation between my own energy and how many high quality people messaged me on a dating app. And like my photo was the same and my profile was the same, that my own availability and energy to the world completely changed people's responsiveness on a dating app to me. And so I think
energetically, you mean? The more open you were, like you saw more response coming in because you were actually like nothing changed on the static app, but you were.
Yes. And I will say overwhelmingly, like my crew of friends who are in their 40s, who all have kids, who got divorced recently, they are like the hottest babes on the market. Like literally like one after the other, like the most eligible men and bachelors. So I'd say like worst idea of 2025 is to talk yourself out of how hot and amazing you can be and what you can have for yourself. And
at any
best idea is to just go out there and really people are magnetized to aliveness, like across the board.
Yeah. They just want to see you. People don't even know. They should just watch you.
Yes.
People like want to feel alive. They just don't because of all the years of conditioning that it's not okay. And at the end of the day, you know the greatest fear is that we're not safe and not lovable.
Yeah.
So it's so scary for people to just do that. But what you're saying is like, when you bring that energy, people will respond to it.
And realizing that
tenfold.
like safe and lovable is an inside job.
Mm.
And then you become safe and lovable. I think like one of the greatest, it's like
Yep.
sort of a cruelty of the universe is the more unsafe and unlovable you feel, the more the universe reflects that to you. And the more safe and lovable you feel, the more the universe reflects that to you.
True.
But I realize it's because the universe doesn't want to make you a beggar.
Right.
Because if you got more unsafe and more unlovable, and then the whole universe was rushing to tell you were safe and lovable, you'd never learn.
Right.
So it wants you like sovereign of like finding that way to
Yes.
like creating inner safety, creating inner lovability.
Oh my
and
God.
then slowly but surely you emerge as like the beautiful human you were born to be.
I love it. So I have a question though. When you first put the app out, were you not in that place? And then you were started to feel more alive and open? Like you said at first there wasn't as much a response, but then you started to open up more. Because I feel like you've always been open. But maybe you were going through his time.
So
yeah. Maybe you had an off weekend, Layla. Like there was one weekend she was not feeling energetic. But like what was the
real thing? Okay. So
Yeah,
for
tell me.
8 months after I separated, like I could not have sex. It was a combination
Makes sense. You were
of no real dates. And then the dates I did have, it was like for whatever reason, like the classic story of this is that I started like connecting with this very hot, very conscious NBA player. And he was really into me and I was really into him. And we knew it wasn't like a partnership thing. And he literally was like, we'd been on 2 dates and he was really into me. He was coming over to my house and he was like, hey, I'm like as horny as I've ever been. I'm at this place in my life where I can't just like have sex with anybody, but like you're the one person in LA that I think is fantastic. I'm like coming over and having sex with you. So I like made an Erewhon buffet because that's me. He said he likes snacks or something. So I was like, I'm gonna make snacks for this. Plus I was like, I don't plan to be single that long. I'm going to find my person. But like in the period when one is not single, one should definitely have sex with a conscious NBA player. And make a food buffet, like a snack buffet, right? I was like, this is what's happening. And he came over and I took his pants off and it was really hot. And like literally he looks down and he goes, I don't think I can do this. It's like, I can't. He can't even tell you why. I literally can't do this. And I was like, ugh. Like it was like I'd been cursed or something.
Was it the snacks? No, just kidding. He didn't like the snacks? He didn't want the dried mango? What? No.
Do not underestimate the power of my snack buffet.
With you? I can imagine. That's what I'm saying.
It's a
your buffets.
snack buffet.
Your entire buffet. The sex buffet, the Erewhon buffet. What happened? Jesus, tell me.
So this is what happened is I had fallen deeply, madly in love with who I can now say was someone with like at least 8 red flags.
Okay.
But we thought that it was destiny.
Okay, of course.
And I was utterly, madly, incredibly in love with him.
Okay.
And he was going through a divorce and he was like, I'm going to come for you, da, 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 da. So I was like in this weird holding pattern.
Okay.
And the reason I know it was him was because exactly 8 months after my separation, he came over and he was like, look, it's going to be a long time. And I looked into his eyes and I was like, he actually can't do this. Like he can't do our level of love. Like he's actually, we had never hooked up. We had never even kissed. Like, and I let go of like holding on to our love and our future and everything that I wanted with him. And the very next day I had like the hottest date with this guy I'd had a crush on for like years. And then after that, it was like, it just like flooded in. So don't underestimate the power of your energy in terms of magnetism and how people respond and availability to the universe.
Yeah. Well, what I love also about all of that, and the fact that a lot of people, like, if they're not Layla, like, they might have been like, oh my God, I feel rejected. I feel bad. This person didn't desire me. And you just pack up all your sad snacks and maybe crawl into, they were good snacks, but you'd feel sad packing them up. And then you get
I definitely stress ate my snacks. I was like, no one wants sex with me.
I
can eat all these $1 million pistachios by myself.
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is that's a testament to you that you were like, that was hard, but then also tomorrow's a new day. Like, it doesn't mean it's about me that he couldn't do it, right? You're saying he felt he couldn't do it, right?
He felt he couldn't do it.
But then you were like,
I took it on board. I definitely blame myself. I called my coach.
For like 12 hours, because the next day you were on a hot date. This is what I'm saying. Like, I just want to put a pin in the fact that so many people like go on a date and don't hear back from the date. And then like they spend weeks, if not months, obsessing about that date that didn't text him. And you're like, yeah. And I even bought a buffet and did a thing and he couldn't, but the next day. So that's like a testament to you and your energy of like, yeah, you probably felt it, but then you were like, and there's more. It's abundance. It's abundance.
Well, somewhat yes and somewhat no. So the fact that I was relentless and I was going to get what I wanted, that is
Okay.
true.
That
I was
tracks
like,
for you.
I'm going to get what I want, and so help me God, I will not stop. But I was still so drenched in cosmic unworthiness. Like I can't even believe like that was less than 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I was always very open with everybody and in my career about this like scathing unworthiness that I developed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't honestly until almost like a year and a half ago. And I was like, I will not live this way
Mm,
anymore.
yeah.
And I had to claim a whole new level of safety for myself. And I realized that so much of the self hating and so much of the unworthiness was still keeping me slightly depressed, like not
Okay.
in a clinical sense,
I
but
don't.
like in a shutdown and emotional sense, and disconnecting me from some of my life force energy. It was still making me feel safe to attack my own beauty, to feel less than worthy, and to see men as these arbiters of my worth
Mm,
rather than as human beings,
yeah.
emissaries of the divine in their own way.
Right.
And I sat and I was just like, I will not do this anymore. And I finally
Mm,
claim my worthiness that now it seems so crazy to me. Like literally like an illness, like a delusion of how delusional I really was about my true absolute worth. And now I don't question that. And if there's one thing I could tell everybody, it's just like, oh my fucking God, please find a way to let yourself feel somatically and psychologically and spiritually safe enough. And there are practices to do that so that you can release this delusion, because I would not have wanted to live one more day feeling that unworthy.
God, that's amazing. Can you talk about like whatever somatic practices you did? And I know it's like a lifetime of work.
Yeah.
Cause that like you don't I mean, I have my own, we all have our own things too, but like that's still rear their heads, right? But what was that for you, if you don't mind, like your path of like, I know what it's like to have something that keeps coming up to you for year after year, but to feel like that's actually no longer my thing is really beautiful. I just want to hold up
Thank
a
you.
moment to that.
Thank
Could
you.
you share that?
So one of the things that I think was a key for me is that when all that self-hating, self-judgment stuff would happen, I would push against it and be like, no, I am amazing. No, I really
Oh,
am beautiful.
almost like performatively backing yourself up, but it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't somatic. It wasn't in you.
And then I
Embodied.
was like, what is underneath this?
Mm,
And can I feel the actual pain I'm causing myself? And in sitting with that pain, can I find the thing underneath? And so what helped me was I actually felt how much I was hurting my own body by speaking to myself that way, and how
mhm,
much I was hurting my own soul by being delusional. Like, you know how much
mhm,
it hurts when someone you love can't see you?
mhm.
It's like that times 100 when you can't see yourself. Like my own animal body was crying out to just be seen by the truth. And so I felt my way through that pain, which was nearly unbearable. And psychologically, this is what I find we do with ourselves. I really wanted to blame my partner. So I would literally watch, it would be
Of course.
like literally this is what it felt like. It was like, you can sit here and feel all of what feels like your unbearable pain in the fetal position, or you could pick a fight with him. And I literally, it was like this thing like came out from the back of my brain and was like, no, he shall pay for this
Right.
thing that he did. And I'd be like, if he needs to pay for that, which
Yeah.
he didn't, we can do it later. Why
Yeah.
don't you give it 3 days? You have to sit with this for 3 days and not make anything about him. And I literally just like sat, and it was these waves of like pain. It was like every single time I'd ever not loved myself, not seen myself, hated myself. And then underneath all of that
Mm,
was how unsafe I'd felt as a little girl having a sexually abusive father, and
mhm,
this just like naked terror.
mm,
And I could see, I literally saw it in this series of flashes how all these decisions I'd made to judge myself and hate myself
mm.
were an attempt to stay distant from men for the rest of my life in my own way. Because if I'm hating myself that much and judging myself that much and like trying to beg for crumbs, we're not having a real connection.
Mm-mm.
We're not actually connecting in a
Mm.
real way that feels threatening.
Yeah.
And like it goes all the way to my core. And so when I loved that part of me that was that terrified, and I was like, I will always look out for you. You will always belong to me.
Mm,
I care for you. I love you. And I like brought her home.
mm.
all of a sudden I didn't have a need for those defense mechanisms anymore. And this like what felt like I mean, it was a lifetime of unworthiness was just like, I guess our
Yeah.
guess our work here is done. She feels safe.
That's
And
great. It's almost like the inner child, like the little Layla, like bringing her
yeah,
in. She's all there, tucked in with you.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
And then I got to be with my man in a whole new way. Like I got to be touched by the masculine. Like it
Mhm.
never been
In a safe way. It
touched
sounds like you
before.
felt really, really safe, maybe for the first time in a long time, perhaps, if you were still holding on to the stuff from childhood, which obviously you intellectually knew the terror and the damage around that. But you had a full somatic experiencing of it, of embodiment. That's beautiful. Look at you.
So
We're never done, right? The work, the
no.
layers. I remember when I first started out a journey, like it's probably 30 years ago, because I had some early childhood shit, trauma, who didn't, whatever. But I started on the path and like in my early 20s, right? And they're like, I remember there's therapists telling me, like, well, it's like an onion peeling back the layers, and there's so many layers. I'm like, and now I'm like, how many friggin' layers are there of this onion? But there's always more things. But like that sounds like that was a major breakthrough. And like, and they're so satisfying because you're like, I'm doing the work, I'm in the work, I'm in the sex work, I'm embodied, I'm empowered, I'm teaching. Women are having orgasms like at my feet. I've taught millions of women how to feel better, like Layla, but we still have our stuff. And like, and that's I love you sharing that story because like,
Oh.
I love it.
And the onion thing is so it's so real. And I feel like if a long time ago I'd been like, yeah, I'm this like big teacher, people should I love when you switch your
Oh,
position.
thanks.
It's like
I switch around a
very
lot.
sexy. Like, oh, I should have arrived already.
Never done.
All the things I would have missed out on, like
Yeah.
all the deepenings that I could have had. And it didn't mean that I wasn't able to connect in a real and beautiful way before.
Of
Just
course.
so many layers.
That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
a deep, it's not, yeah, it's not, because don't you also think of being like the expert or the teacher? There's almost like, you feel like, and I went through this for a while too, like, but it always made me uncomfortable. Like, you're the expert, you know everything. We're going to learn from you. It's like, but I'm also human and we
Yeah.
all have these human experiences and there's more layers, which is only going to make you a better leader, teacher, girlfriend, friend, best friend, all the things. And so
Yeah.
like publicly talking about that too, like, I know there's more coming for me. I know there's stuff in the past, but it's just beautiful to know, like, yeah, that's part of the experience. So thank you for sharing that.
I also think
I
that
love
should
it.
be a new meme of I went through some shit in my childhood, some trauma. We all did whatever. Dr.
Whatever.
Emily.
Dr. Emily, yeah, you can pull quotes.
Yeah.
I don't need to approve it. But
Well, that
it's
was
true. But like that's why we were like, well, but don't you still talk to people like, oh no, my childhood was perfect. We're not even saying that it wasn't. It's just that something you came out of the womb. There were people there. They did things that made you act and respond in a certain way. As a result of that, your body tensed, it clenched. You had some fears develop. You were pre-verbal, babe. You had no choice. But now you're an adult and that's still running the show. So however you can get into that stuff in your body, even with your perfect parents, maybe one night they bought you the wrong kind of ice cream and it upset you. It doesn't matter. It's in us. That's the human condition. So.
also, have you considered your ancestry or the global
Incest,
trauma that was
right.
occurring? And I think, the thing I committed to, and then I actually want to hear about your onion, your current onion of exploration. The thing that I committed to a while ago was I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this life, even while I'm still fucked up or even while like I'm always going to have layers of trauma.
Yeah.
So I think the danger comes when it's like, I'm going to put my life on hold
Yes.
and work on myself endlessly rather than being like, hey, we're in the human adventure and I'm going to have as good a time as possible wrestling with this
Yes.
next demon or like sitting here, like literally I was like in the jungle in Australia on a beanbag being like, I'm just going to feel the waves of unworthiness that have been in here in my generational like line for so long and just, and then being like, and wow, I think when we have this idea of like life is going to start on the other side of my
waiting
liberation.
for that thing that's going to release us never happens.
No, you want to have
Never
a
happens.
party with the release of your trauma and your unworthiness
Yes,
as much
I'm
as
having
possible.
a party here. We're having a party here, Blue Food. Celebrate you. I love that. It's true. Because that is so much of it. Like once I get, in a very superficial way, once I get the car, the house, the journey, the wife, the partner, everything's going to be great. But you do it with your trauma too. Like, well, once I get through this thing. And do you ever think you really get through it? You get through layers of it, but you're always managing. Like you said, like we'll always have the traumatic things that happen, big T's, little T traumas, but like we manage them better. I don't know that they ever fully go away.
I feel
Some things do, but
I don't
maybe
like our
there's more.
humanness never goes away.
Right.
That's my experience, but I feel like the universe does answer our prayers. And one of my prayers in this lifetime is to be liberated. So I feel like a lot of it's like the North Star and
Mm,
where my prayers get answered are in these chunks of liberation. And I don't think I'll ever stop being human or not having certain trauma responses. But I do feel like where it used to be like a boulder that I was carrying around and I could barely move because it was
mm,
so much trauma and it was so
oh,
heavy. It's like now I feel like I have these like sachets of
mm,
rock, like small rocks that I carry around.
mm.
And that is so what I have done with my life in choosing liberation is one of the greatest experiences. So I'm so happy for it. But I think if I'd waited to start my life until that boulder was gone, I would feel like I had missed out.
Yeah. Yeah. That tracks. That makes sense.
Let's take a little pause from the podcast, and I'm going to tell you about my signature 1-year program. This is the VITA Sex, Love, and Relationship Coaching Certification, and it is for you if you have dreamed of giving your gifts as a sex, love, and or relationship coach with a holistic and spiritual lens. This program starts as a personal deep dive, allowing you to transform your own experience of sex, love, and relating. It then trains you in a profound methodology that allows you to become a confident and masterful coach, and it trains you in business skills so that you can effectively sell your coaching packages to high-end clients in a way that feels heart-centered and filled with soul. If you want to have a lifestyle that you are super excited about, create your own work hours, and have a meaningful impact in the world, go to laylamartin.com/VITA coaching. That's VITA, laylamartin.com/VITA coaching. I want to know what your current edge. Oh, sex magic.
I know.
Then we're going to get into your current
Well,
edge.
first let me drink some sex magic and I'll tell you everything. This little sexy elixir here. Tell me what we're drinking.
Okay, so this is sex magic. This is
Okay.
the sexy supplement. You take it 15 to 20 minutes before sex.
Okay.
Or whenever you want to feel kind of glittery, magical, and alive.
Okay.
It's currently at Erewhon. You can buy it online. It's got all kinds of amazing herbs in it. Huperzine A is one of the big aphrodisiacs that's inside of it. Yeah, it's got dopaminergics. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. What is it like? A little bit of fruity, a little bit of, tell me.
This is actually blueberry and acai, and then it's a ginger lemonade flavor to it.
I
Yeah.
just want to drink it all. Well, when don't I want to feel sparkly? All the time I do. Can I drink it whenever? Like, it's funny. Like, people are like, oh, you should drink this for pleasure, for sex. Like, I have these certain gummies. I'm like, but they actually just make you feel good in your body. So if it's something's going to make you feel good in your body, or you're going to a meeting and you want your creative energy stoked, like, you could just have this part of your daily drink, right? Well,
Absolutely.
especially if it's blessed by you with like making us feel glittery.
My first
alive.
supplement company that I ever had, I actually had naked sex witches making it until I found out what a gross violation of the health codes that was.
Oops.
But to be fair, I was 23 years old in Brooklyn. So
To be fair, it tracked. I understand your logic. Yeah.
And it was fully consensual. Everybody was very happy to be working naked.
Oh my God, I love little Layla naked in Brooklyn. That's a whole nother layer. Maybe a thing. I love it. It's good.
Thank you so much. It's actually been a minute since I've had it. I've missed it.
Fun. And it's called, how can people buy it?
Mood is the
Okay.
brand. Yep.
Can they order online too?
They can order it
So they don't
online.
have to go to Erewhon.
No.
They don't want to.
They don't have to go to Erewhon.
It's in a beautiful box.
Well, this is a special box. So this is a florist company in LA that makes them in these special boxes. And this is actually the Huperzine A aphrodisiac moss in the box. And then I told you this is a gift for you. So
Oh, thank you.
My team was
you
actually
won't all
so
get the box.
No.
Sorry. Thank
my
you.
team was so excited about you. They were like, she must have the orchid crystal
Aw,
box.
thanks, team. I'm very excited about the box. Okay. Yeah. It's like this you want to drink it. Like sometimes I'm a half finished drink person sometimes, but this is good.
Yay. Thank you.
I just love the idea of like, people always ask me, like, what, like, sex is so not ritualistic. Like, I'm talking about like most of my listeners, like, audience over the years, they are even just getting them to talk about sex or to figure out when they want to have sex or what times of day feel right. But such a basic thing about like, well, what if you actually connected with your partner beforehand and you had like a 15-minute ritual where you're like, I'm going to make our drink.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this mood and we're going to sit down together and we're going to have this. It's like the intention is setting. We know this is going to be something connective and sexual and intimate, but it just kind of marks that. Like, it's like, this is the time. Maybe you have your special mug that you drink it in together.
Yes.
I just love that idea of couples having some kind of anchor for their sex life, because the flip side of that for so many couples and people in relationships is that sex is sort of this like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? When did it happen? It wasn't satisfying. One partner wants it more than the other one, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
And if there's an anchoring thing around, well, okay, this signals that we're doing it together, and here's your mug that we picked out together, and let's have it.
Yeah.
I just think that's a really beautiful practice or an offering to
Yes.
people's, sexual challenges, which there are many.
Yeah. And I love that, like sitting down and just sharing something together, slowing down,
Mm-hmm.
connecting. Yeah.
Yeah, because sex sometimes I feel for so many that it just goes too fast. We're not even ready for it, or our partner wants it, so we move through it quickly and we do it to take one for the team, or we're not really ready. But this is almost like a way of saying, like, let's finish our drink, let's check in about the day, or whatever we found that we needed, right? To
Yeah.
really feel on the same page. Because if you think about it, like before you go to a sport, I don't know, I'm just thinking like a sporting event, you have like your ritual, like we're gonna run around the track first, or we're gonna all put our hands in the middle, be like, let's go, or we're gonna do our company cheer. But with sex, we're like feeling it around. Are you ready? Am I ready? Is it gonna happen? Are the kids sleeping? Is the door locked? But like if you're like, oh no, this signals some kind of connection's happening.
Mood,
I don't
sex
know.
magic, the company cheer of your sex life.
Yes, exactly. I'm branding. We're marketing it. But I do. I love that. I love that it's a ritual.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Aw, thank you for getting it so deeply.
I get it so deep. I get it so deeply, and I get the need for it. And my brain goes to like mostly I'm hearing about the challenges that people are having. So if I think of ways that are really smart to plug in, I love it.
Yeah. It literally came from me having a date with my partner a couple years ago and knowing that we were meant to have sex. It was like one of our sex dates. And I was so wiped from work. And I was like, wow, this nervous system state that I'm in is not conducive to sex.
Yeah.
Like I literally, after working that hard, my brain would just want to scroll Instagram. And I was like, brain, no, like, this isn't what's going to make you happy. And I was having a hard time switching out of that, like go. And I was like, what can I take? Like, I don't want to drink alcohol. I can't drink coffee right now. I won't sleep. Why is there not like something sexy?
Now there is. It's great. Because you're right. So many of them do have that caffeine, or they have like cannabis in it or something, which is all fine if that's your jam. But this is just more like a holistic way to do it.
Totally.
I'm in.
Well, I would love to hear what your current edge of sexual discovery, evolution, healing is personally, if you're open to sharing.
Of course. Yeah. But there's so many. Give me a moment to think about where I'm really digging right now. But let me think like, oh God, there's been so much. I think for me, I mean, God, I've been through so many different healings. Let me take a moment. What I would want to share that I'm in. I mean, I'm always in something. I've really loved lately, like I've been through a lot of talk therapy over the years, which I know is great, a great starting point. And then I moved into some EMDR therapy, which is really, have you done EMDR, eye movement?
It's where someone holds a finger, you hold a finger to yourself and your eyes release trauma by their movement.
And it basically is rewiring the neuroplasticity in your brain so you don't have as many charges around whatever those issues were. And that's all been really great. And I've done other things. But for me, the somatic experiencing, the somatic work has been really like life changing or just life evolving right now.
Yeah.
And so what I guess I'm really working on with the somatic therapist pretty regularly is the full body, like with like massage, and then where am I feeling stuff in? I mean, it took me so long to actually be able to identify if it wasn't sex, because sex, I'm pretty good at knowing, like I can get myself aroused or turn on or present, but it's all that other stuff that was really stuck in my body that I could intellectually, I could get like a really great massage and then I could talk to a therapist, but this is like an integrative process where I'm actually for the first time releasing where I haven't felt safe in my body through certain kinds of touch.
Yeah.
And I have felt like a really big release through that, like knowing that that there was like parts like in my stomach and in my throat where I wasn't feeling safe, meaning just around like people around me. I had some people around me that weren't that like helpful. And mostly it's a business thing, like a work. I'm like restructuring my entire life company right now, which
Yeah.
probably you've been through too in your 20 years. And it's and it was really coming up for me in a way that my body wasn't reacting. Like I felt very shut down. I wasn't feeling very sexual. Yes, that happens to people who are sex experts. Sometimes you don't feel sexual as well. Normalize that. But and I think I just had this release around that, around safety, around really now I could tell you like where I'm feeling things, like where I feel certain pains or emotions. And that's been just a bigger edge for me of like being able to on my own now feel like, oh, in my back, this is happening and matching it up to a feeling like this fear or this anxiety or something. Or safety was the big one, last one. So that's kind of helped me feel more fully open and receiving of even more pleasure and more sex. But I've been out of a relationship now for about 6 to 7 months. Totally amicable, not the right, which they always are. I'm always friends with exes. I don't know about you. Like, I don't understand people who are like, I do understand, actually, don't get me wrong. But my ex is like, we loved for a reason. We lived for a reason. We had other ways it didn't work. But then I just kind of took a beat the last 6 months and I was kind of just working on more things and didn't really have anything sexual going on. But now I feel like through releasing these other layers of things and bringing in the little part of me that didn't feel safe as a little girl, I didn't realize it's safety. It's so funny because in our work, we know that when we don't feel safe in our bodies, it's really hard to feel fully sexually expressed, to feel orgasm, to feel pleasure, to feel connected, that when you have these, and I didn't realize I had so much lingering safety in my body. So now, after I did this, like it was like a week-long trip, a week-long journey with this therapist, I'm actually like, oh, like my libido, maybe it was a sex magic. I don't know. I'm feeling, but like every day, I just got back from this retreat. Like every day the last week, I was like, she's back. I'm feeling it. So I feel like it was that releasing through some stored stuff in my body. And I love this practitioner because she was like, well, what did it feel like to not be safe? And then I was like, I don't know. Like, it's still hard for me to like name what things look like visually.
Yeah.
But then she's like, well, what if you put in like gold glitter? You seem like a gold glitter girl. I'm like, oh, yes, I am a gold glitter girl. And then I pictured glitter through my whole body. And I'm like, oh my God, she's alive. She's back. So I'm actually picturing like the glowing glitter, gold glitter as my arousal. And through that, I'm just feeling more turned on. More ready. Yeah. No one's asked me about, I mean, that's new. That's new off the presses.
Yeah.
So that's a new thing that's I'm working through now.
Amazing. I mean, safety, like actual full nervous system safety is the number one ingredient for being truly sexually turned on and fully multi-orgasmic. And then the great joke of the universe is once you actually have that safety and that foundation of trust and respect, then it's like, then we love to get like unsafe, Then you're like, no, fucking pin me to the bed and like fuck me till I can't think,
Right. But when it comes, you have to do that part first. Yes. It's so true. Right. Yeah. But now I'm like, let's go. But I didn't even realize those little things were holding me back still. So it's so true that safety is big. And like, I always felt safe with friends. Like I have a really close network of friends, but it was just more about other people that come into my life that weren't as safe.
Yeah.
And I knew that they didn't, but like, it's like trust also. It always goes back to trusting what you know. It was good. It was good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. This is Sex Magic, and it's designed to basically make your body feel more glittery, more turned on. It's got all kinds of amazing herbs in it. It's sweetened with monk fruit. It's colored with beetroot. It's got this beautiful combination of saffron in it and shilajit and all kinds of activating things, dopaminergics that make your body feel more pleasure. It's really powerful. Oh, and huperzine A, which is a nootropic moss. That was like the thing we were the most proud of. We were like, we put so many herbs in it and it actually tastes good. Feel deeper arousal and heightened sensitivity in as little as 30 minutes. Try it now at shopmood.com. All right, so what are the biggest, having talked to so many people about their sex lives, what are the biggest sexual problems people face?
Oh, God. Well, I would say the first one is, I always say communication is a lubrication. Yep. The more we talk about sex, the better sex we're going to have. We're going to feel more evolved and turned on. Most people don't talk about sex in a way that is healthy, moves the needle, makes them feel good. There's just they're like, I would rather poke needles in my eyes, run around naked in public, give up all my money than making me have a conversation about sex. So I think that is still probably when it comes down to it, couples who come to me. So then they'll come to me with mismatched desires. There's always one person who wants more sex than the other one. Can we just normalize that that's most relationships, unless it's early on?
Mhm.
That there's always going to shake out in the end after like a month or two or 6 months. Someone's going to want it more than the other.
Yeah.
And that's going to be something that you're going to have to look at. But then with those people, I'm like, but have you talked about it? Oh no, I don't want to make my partner feel bad. I'm not going to talk about it. So I would say communication is the big one. Then I would say the mismatched desires, of just, being able to negotiate and figure out just when is the right time for sex. I feel like we just sort of, my sexual history was like I was the most performative sex person in the world.
Yeah.
Arching the back, faking the orgasms, doing all the things because it was like, that's good sex because he's happy.
Yeah.
I knew how to do it all, but I was like, I will never do that again once I learned that I could actually have pleasure. So I think that so much of sex is like, you know what? I'd rather just do when my partner wants it because I don't want to have the conversation about it. So I'm going to suffer. I would say so mismatched libidos. I would say elusive orgasms or just not having orgasms or feeling these questions that come up, the challenges are that like I can have an orgasm alone, but not with a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just can I have multiple orgasms? Is it possible? And I was like, everything's possible.
Yeah.
Everything's possible. Just
Yeah.
like, so I would say those are the big ones. What else? Shame. I mean, I talk about the pleasure thieves, and it's literally stress, trauma, and shame.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that keep us from having really fully embodied sexual experiences. And so I think the common thing around everything is like, well, what's the shame levels? What are still holding on to you? And stress. If we're anxious, we're stressed, it's really hard to feel fully aroused. And then trauma, we talked about, like if that's still in your body too in any way, releasing that.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about that. Yeah.
For you listening, I'd love for you to just feel into your body right now and have a moment of what would my erotic desire, what would sex and pleasure feel like if I had no stress, trauma, or shame?
Mm.
Just have a moment to experience yourself that way.
Mm.
And the reason I invite you to do that is because so many of us carry this story of I'm not a sexual being or there's something wrong with my erotic nature. But to me, our erotic nature is natural and nature's trying to tell you that something's off. Like when you're sick and you're trying to fight a cold and you get super tired, nature's like, you're tired, go
Right.
rest so that you can fight this infection, whether you
Yeah.
consciously know you have an infection or not, right? And I feel like the same thing is happening with sex. We're actually meant
Mhm.
to be these bubbling erotic beings. I'd say like 99% of humanity. I
Yeah.
think there's 1% that's asexual or less
Yes.
sexual or meant to be
Yeah.
celibate monks. But for the 99%, it's like, I am hyper erotic hyper erotic is not the right word. I can open into the delight of pleasure and eros most of the time.
Mm.
And it's actually not that hard to access. That is our natural state. And so I love this simple, it's stress, trauma, or shame,
Mhm.
because so many of us have buckets of that.
Buckets of that.
And when you release it, or at least a little bit of it, it's amazing how good it feels inside.
Amazing. Like, what if it's not there? Like, what if it doesn't have to be there, So yeah, just peeling it back. And it's probably been there for a very long time. So it's a process, but just knowing you can like work through it or choose not to like, maybe today I won't really embrace the stress, trauma, and shame I'm going to go into. And when you do find that, if you're doing this exercise, I always say like, go back to your breath and like really breathe into your pelvic floor. Like for a moment, even, can you feel what it feel like to be free,
Yeah.
of all that?
Yes.
Yes.
And I love that you say that because there is a way in which you can breathe into it and through it and feel it all. And then it's no longer an obstruction.
No, exactly.
It's like, even if you've got the stress, the trauma, and the shame, if you can breathe into your pussy and if you can allow
Mhm.
the flow and movement of life through you, those things are no longer obstructions.
They're not even an issue. They're not even there. They left the house. Like they're not there. Yeah.
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 Nature's natural
I love that you've
antidepressant.
I know you've taught so many women, and you still do work with men too. But I just
Uh-huh.
remember earlier, like you've taught a lot of women how to do that, which I know it's amazing. I had, like an
Oh.
intern once who did all your courses and all your was in Tulum with you, and just
Oh.
yeah, I love how much you've helped women really feel that for the first time ever, and they never would have if not for you.
I am curious. This is a question I really was like, oh, that's fascinating. So people who aren't sacred sexuality practitioners, like they don't know anything about tantra, they're not practicing conscious sex, they're not doing Wim Hofing, any of that.
Right.
Have you found that they are having what we might call a spiritual experience during sex? Like they're getting there somehow, some way. And
Yeah, it's a good question.
yeah,
Really thinking about it. Like
yeah,
they have no ties to spirituality. They have no ties. Like maybe they go to church or maybe
yeah,
they go to. I mean, I would say that maybe in their state of orgasm and
yeah,
like true connection with their partner, usually it's like when they're on vacation or it's a one off moment or like the kids were at home and maybe they would say it was truly like a spiritual connection like that. But I don't think it's the kind of stuff that we talk about and that we study. But again, we're not in everyone's bedrooms. But I think that a lot of people, it's a little bit more inaccessible to them. But I would hope that I don't know. This is actually how my career started. When people were like, I had the best sex of my life. I'd be like, back up. What happened? Like, walk me through the step of what made it so great. Cause like, I would want to know what that means. And usually it's just like there's usually maybe a little bit of teasing or they weren't sure it was going to happen or was it, but I don't know if it was like otherworldly or special or sacred.
yeah,
So I hope that there's places where that's happening. But a lot of times, I don't know. I think that some people say, they see God, they see the things, but I don't know how common it is without having words around it to use it. This was more of a spiritual experience. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because I don't know. I don't want to like yuck anyone's yum. Like maybe it really was a spiritual thing and I'm just not there. But
yeah,
I don't know if it's tantric. I don't know if it's the exchange and the polarities of energy. But maybe it was like killer orgasms for all.
yeah,
And it was like we felt great and we were in bed together for hours and we felt super connected.
yeah.
And I think that could be spiritual. But I don't know if it's another you know what? Is that what you're asking? Like, is it the kind of sex? Yeah.
Totally. I feel like every culture has, like in French, it's le petit mort, or
Mhm.
even in English. I don't know if they do this globally, but we scream, "Oh God!"
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, we
there's
do.
something where
I'm Jewish. I scream, "Oh God," sometimes. I don't know why. Yeah, we do it.
Yawa.
Yeah. I'm like,
That
okay.
would turn me on.
Okay.
I've always really liked Jewish men.
There you go.
But that portal is there. I
Mm.
know anyone can enter it.
Yes.
And I kind of like this idea of like Elizabeth going on vacation. And I feel like
Yeah.
the divine's always there in every experience, just like winking at
Yes.
you. So I love the idea of just like you like slip into this orgasmic experience and it's like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that probably people have them. They might not have had a word for it, or they've had moments. Like I always ask people, like, "What's the most memorable time you've had sex, like with your partner or with somebody?" And usually there are some kind of like, divine experiences. So I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would hope that for most people that's why they keep doing it.
yeah. And also like the best sex ever. I mean, I'd be interested to hear what people kind of say in their best sex ever.
It's interesting.
But I feel like it is usually deep states of pleasure,
Yeah.
a sense of losing yourself. Like I
Hmm.
think most people would say like in the best sex
Safety,
ever,
because they
yes,
were felt safe, so they could lose themselves. Yeah.
deep connection to my
Hmm.
partner.
Yeah.
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 Amazing.
We felt safe. We felt alone. There was no one around.
Yeah. If you want the most outrageously orgasmic pussy, if you want to have the most exquisite and luscious sexual experiences of your entire life, the most effective tool for this is called the crystal egg. This is a crystal that you pop up your pussy and essentially you do a type of yoga with it, meaning you learn different breathwork practices, different strength building exercises, and different ways to use your sexual energy that enhance sensitivity, pleasure, and your sexual magnetism. This is my absolute favorite practice. It transformed my sexuality, and I'm so excited to share it with you. I teach it in a program called Crystal Pleasure. This is a 6-week-long training that gives you everything you need to know about this amazing tool so that you can have the most exquisite sexual experiences. You can sign up for this program by heading over to laylamartin.com/crystal pleasure. All right, so a couple of other popcorn rounds. Why do people cheat?
So yeah, popcorn. This is not popcorn.
Two
Popcorn's like
sentences or
choose
less.
between this or that. I mean,
Because they're
people
assholes.
cheat. No, people cheat for so many reasons. Oh my God. Well, I'm gonna tell you why they don't cheat only. People think it's because they found someone hotter or their partner was holding out sex. This is like sort of that trope, right?
Yeah.
My partner would sleep with me, so I went out to get it. I think it's because people, oh God, they don't feel great about themselves. They don't feel as connected to their partner. They like the way this other person made them feel. Not their partner, but they met somebody who made them feel like a version of themselves that they'd been missing in their current relationship. They felt desire, they felt aroused, they felt turned on in ways that they just thought was gone to them. And so this person that they cheated on with made them feel all those things.
Mm, mm.
That's one idea.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think people cheat?
I will say I've never cheated. My very first adult boyfriend would argue otherwise, but we had a semi-open relationship and we were literally breaking up, and I told him I was breaking up with him and he was like, "Don't kiss that guy." And at 25, I kissed the guy, told him about it, and he's like, "You cheated." And I was like, so that was the worst I ever did.
Okay,
but,
okay.
but in that experience of falling in love that I referenced earlier in in the ashes of a breakup, I felt something in my system that was stronger than any drug I've ever taken. It was
Okay.
like 10 MDMAs and LSD plus the best part of ayahuasca. Like,
Wow.
I just have compassion for the human condition.
Mhm.
Not excusing anyone ever lying to their partner, deceiving their partner. It's like heartbreaking and devastating. And I have deep compassion for the human condition where we're not taught to keep Eros alive.
Mhm.
We're not taught how to stay sexually in love with each other and to
Yes.
cultivate deep states of erotic communion. And we have these exhausting jobs and we get lost. And over 5, 10, 15 years, right? You're like
Yeah.
tired and life has gotten into and all of this. And then all of a sudden someone comes along and who knows why the universe does this. And it's like, someone just gave you 10 MDMA, right? It's this
Exactly.
excitement, aliveness, like all of that. And yeah, maybe you're not getting that in your relationship anymore. Maybe you don't feel safe to share that in your relationship. But what I will say is that has nothing to do with the other partner being
Mm-mm.
sexy or worthy or amazing.
Nothing.
And I think that's very different than people who are compulsive cheaters. I think
Yeah.
there's a class of people who get off
Yes.
on the abuse, on the power of it.
That's a different
That
layer.
is,
I think it's
yeah,
exactly what you said, though, that it's people who, most people in our culture who don't understand the work that it takes to keep the eros and the eroticism alive.
yeah,
We're just like, it's so elusive. You're like, yeah, I know it's great in the beginning of the relationship because we're all riding high in the feel good hot cocktail of hormones from the first 6 months to 2 years. We call it the honeymoon phase, whatever. There's different names for it, but we know what we're talking about. And then that's great. And then it's not. And
yeah,
then you're like, get us back there. We don't know how to get back there, but it's because you were just kind of like coasting on these great drugs that were just kind of aligning in your brain. But that's where the work starts. It could
yes.
even start before that. But that's where people don't know how to keep it going. And then it's a mystery. And then they think something's wrong because we're not like ripping each other's clothes off every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that is the work, the couples who have, and which I think is most people who haven't learned to cultivate that eroticism together as a practice
Yeah.
that actually needs to be continued throughout their relationship
Yeah.
and prioritized.
And what I want people to know in long-term relationships is that it's without being taught the tools and the exercises and the ways to cultivate sexuality. And you can do that through, obviously, I'm doing it through a spiritual lens and a consciousness lens and a tantric background, but you can cultivate eros through pelvic floor exercises. And everybody now understands that breath work is
Breath
helpful
work
and
is
mindfulness,
best.
no matter what you call
Yes.
it, of attention and attentiveness. And then working on your intimacy in some way, shape, or form. But to me, what's happened to our sex lives and our relational lives is it's like we're surrounded with junk food, which is to
Yep.
me porn and terror of intimacy and lack of sexual teachings. And so it's just easy to eat junk food all the time, meaning just not connecting, not having the conversation, not cultivating the eros. But unlike, the obesity epidemic and people being very
Mhm.
unhealthy, there's not even a model of health because of all the sexual repression and fear. and all of the intimacy fear. Like so many people have so much pain and they don't know what to do about it.
Right.
And carrying so much emotional pain and not knowing what to do about it will fuck up your marriage.
Yeah.
And everybody has it. I've yet to meet a human that doesn't have an ocean of pain inside of them. And no one tells us what to do with it. No one tells us how to love your wife through that.
Yeah.
Or no one tells us what to do when you're feeling that much grief or that much sorrow, how to stay open through it. We're not taught these things. So what's so sad to me is not only do you have the sexual relational equivalent of junk food all around you, meaning get distracted, do this thing that's bad for you because it's going to keep you from doing the thing that maybe doesn't feel that good in the moment, but is actually good for you in the long term.
Right.
But then instead of even having gyms and Weight Watchers and all these like, well, eating good, healthy is actually good for you. We have this whole culture of shame and sexual repression and emotional repression. And, you know, a lot of people being like, that sounds like a lot of work. Why would I do that? And so to me, it's like, what chance do we have to create sexually thriving, profoundly intimate, long-term relationships? And yet I think that's what every human would actually want. Even people who've lived out their hottest, slutty fantasies. And I think everyone should have a period in their life where it's like, sow your goddamn wild oats, like get out there. So you're not hungry for it, right? Everyone who has truly sown their wild oats is like, there's like time's up on that one, right? Like that's only fulfilling for a certain amount of time. And then what I really want is a good person who loves me that I can love back and to share sexual intimacy with that person over a lifetime. What breaks my heart is there are so many ways to cultivate that, but we just don't get it as a society. We don't have a culture of it as a society. So people end up feeling so lost and alone. And then, cheating feels like the best option, just like Cheetos feel like a great fucking option.
The same thing, Cheetos, cheating, it's all the same thing. It's all like Band-Aids for what's actually really happening. It's the quick fix to numb ourselves even more from the work we have to do. And like you're saying, people want it, but then this is what I'm always trying to rebrand. Like, if you're like, it's going to take work, it's going to be deep. You're like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But how do you get people into it? It's such a felt experience to feel it. So how do you get people into the feeling? It's, I guess, through breath work, through finding conscious community. But like so many people are like, that's too much. I'm not there. Or it scares me because I've gone through my entire life, walking through my entire life, completely avoiding everything. Everything, push it down. Because I work really hard for validation, or I do all these other things, or I got the sexy heart partner. But I don't want to do that work because I don't want to cry and I don't want to feel the emotions. But that's the work.
Yeah.
That's the work with a supported, loving,
100%. I think that's where there's the biggest hole in our culture is because it's not comfortable to go to the gym, but you've got men being like, bro, get in the gym. Like, of course you don't want to do it today. Of course it doesn't feel good today, but there's a culture of like, you do it anyways because your fitness matters. And there's not that culture of breathe into your testicles.
I know.
like feel your unfelt childhood pain so that you can love the person the way that they deserve to be loved in front of you.
That's it. That is the thing they do. Like, I think if so many more men breathed into their testicles, maybe they'll do that now, they would start to feel like, oh, I'm connected maybe for the first time ever to my sexual energy.
Yeah.
It's just complex. That's why I write about sexual IQ in my last book that came out 2 years ago. It's called Sexual Intelligence. Because I was writing, I was like, okay, people want a quick fix for sex. They want that tip or that trick because there's so much shame around it. They're like, I don't really know where to go. I know that something's wrong. I've been faking orgasms or mismatched libidos, but I'm like, no, it's multi-layered. Like are you embodied during sex? What's your health like? Are you actually taking medications that's going to keep you from having erections? So I kind of look at all like these 5 pillars of sex IQ that are just like, you got to do a lot of different things. But if you realize that it's a multi-layered spiritual, intellectual, emotional approach to it, it might not be so scary. Because I think with sex, they're like, it's a big problem. Don't know how to fix it. Gonna dumb out, gonna cheat.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think it's very, what's coming to me as you're saying this is breathe into your balls or breathe into your pussy probably sounds a little silly if this isn't your world of like, come on, really, that's the solution to my problem. But what I would say is think about it. If you didn't want to breathe into your heart, if you were just like, no, I shall not breathe into my heart. That's too uncomfortable. It's too scary, right? And you just never went there and you packed up into your head, right? If I said, come and breathe into your heart, the first thing you would probably feel is your unfelt things. Like most people have heartbreak or grief or sadness inside of their heart. I haven't come across a human who starts to really breathe into their heart that doesn't have some emotional material that needs to be felt.
Yes.
But once you actually breathe into your heart, you start to unlock this feeling of connection, of love, of joy, of goodness. And it's so layered. Like I had a wall, like a Great Wall of China style, thick bricked thing built over my heart for a long ass time. And brick by brick, like I took that wall down. And now I wouldn't trade anything in the world for having access to my heart, for the way that I love people, for the way that I love myself. But it took so much work and it took feeling really uncomfortable feelings. We've got the exact same thing in testicle, cock, and pussy.
Yes.
It's like the unfelt things, the unexamined things. You have to feel that first.
Yes.
But then there's this world of ecstasy and pleasure beyond anything that anyone really has any idea. Someone asked me the other day, there was this couple who was, they were doing a call for joining my tantric mastermind. And the guy, owns a business and he was a little skeptical. And he was like, what's the unspoken thing in this program? And I was like, that is a great question. And I was like, the unspoken thing is that I can't tell you how magical and how wondrous and how indescribable your true sexual experience can be. And how when you look into the eyes of your beloved and feel them as deeply as you can, and sharing that together is truly one of life's great experiences. And it's not like the sex you've ever known times 3. It's something else entirely. And you can spend your whole life scratching the surface of it, or you can just decide to dive all the way in. And I have never met anyone who regretted doing it, but there's this indescribable magic and power right there inside of our bodies that most people aren't touching all the way. And yeah, I thank you in your life's work of getting them there to talk about it, to open into it, to start to dive in.
And then you get them in and they're like, yeah, this is like this is something, because it's such a felt experience, such a market an experience that is felt.
Yeah.
Right? Like how do you, but then in talking to them, I'm sure he's like, oh yeah, I want that.
Yeah.
I'll take what she's having, add to cart. But it's hard it's so elusive. And no one's walking around going, I had this deeply embodied experience last night, Joe. I actually saw my lover through the eyes that I've never thought I could. Like they're just not talking about it either, right? You're like, I promise you, this is going to be the experience, but that's what we want.
Yeah.
When we say we want, and essentially like we don't have people, and you probably find this too, the superficiality of the conversation around sex meeting, not like you guys are all like, but just like it's more like, how many times a week are we having sex? Who had orgasm? Like those are always the questions. I'm like, that's not the questions to be asking. Like this deeper level connection of like this soul contract, this experience, this like, you can't, it's hard to put that into words until you like have the felt experience of it. So.
Like, Emily, what's exactly inside of my balls?
Yeah. Right.
It's your root erotic power with which you can manifest the life of your dreams.
Yes, and creativity. Well, what about all the men who are like reading, I wanted your like that Think and Grow Rich, right? Is the book that was the most popular. Every man I know, like they went to Tony Robbins, like Think and Grow Rich. And they're all obsessed with like chapter whatever 8, because it's about like semen retention.
Yeah.
So they're all semen retenting, but they're not really understanding the actual, like there's a missing somatic therapeutic embodied piece to that.
Yeah.
So guys are like, I haven't ejaculated in like a month or 2 months. But I'm like, I don't know. There's like another layer to it. I can't explain. Like, where's the release? But are you feeling? They're just like, if I'm going to Think and Grow Rich, I'm just never going to ejaculate again. And so they're getting tidbits and starts about it, but they're not getting like the stuff that you're saying. Do you know what I'm talking about? Guys are like, that was my favorite chapter. I'm like, but really, why? I still haven't come in 10 years. But like, what? There's more. It's like half of an piece of information.
And look, if that was your practice and you're a millionaire, please DM me on Instagram, because I would love to interview you for the podcast.
Yeah.
And like,
it's like, it's missing. It's missing the female too, that feminine.
Right. Well, I think what from my understanding of Napoleon Hill, and I read that book a while ago, was that when you're in an ecstatic state and you can create ecstasy with your sexual power and pleasure, your manifesting capacities are greatly amplified.
Yes.
And part of that is because whatever it is that you envision, you've already imprinted into your nervous system that it is pleasurable to have it, because you're seeing something and your brain doesn't know the difference between visualizing it and having it. And you're imprinting it with this high state of pleasure. Plus you're at an altered frequency, which gives you access to
when you're
more
not
of the
ejaculating,
timelines.
right? Right.
Yeah, exactly. So when you don't ejaculate, you become available to a multi-orgasmic state. And that multi-orgasmic state is a much more powerful state for manifestation. But it's very easy to not ejaculate. I wouldn't say very easy. It's the mechanical part is non-ejaculation, but the real underlying part is the harnessing of life force energy.
I think that's the
Yeah.
part that misses from it. They're like, he's like, just like, don't, and I'm not to not get people out of the book. I've just seen men be like it's another item on their to-do list. Like now
Yeah.
I'm not ejaculating, but there's not like the more in-depth spiritual experience about what it really means. Like I'm just not ejaculating and I'm feeling really good, but there's another layer to it.
Yeah. Of this.
Of learning and breathing deep in and like when you do release, what does it mean? And it's not just about like you're making more money because now you have more creative energy that's circulating without like releasing semen. There's just I don't know why I thought about that. It bothers me. I feel like you would have I feel like you would be able to help them or you would be able to help them. But it's a good practice, I suppose. But then there's all these stuff out there that too. We could even talk about that one day. Like what's the practices that are harmful that they think is helping, but if they don't move through the whole system of it, it can be harmful. I don't know
Yeah.
what,
Well, the
but
way that I understand it is originally when I studied women and what was keeping them disempowered, I was like, oh, we got fractured. Like you can either
Mhm.
be a slutty whore, but then no one wants to marry you or choose you. You're disconnected from your heart.
Right.
And you certainly don't get any power or respect or visionary capacity in the world. And you're certainly not seen as a spiritual being. Or you can be a wife and mother, but you're certainly not a spiritual leader. So you're disconnected from your spiritual
Right.
center and you're definitely not a sexual being anymore. So you're just in your heart. And then usually, should you dare to be a spiritual being, will probably torture you or kill
Yeah.
you. And I say that lightly, but that's
Yeah.
obviously fucked us all up in some
Totally.
of the deepest ways. So originally I was like, how do you get a woman to be back in integrity? How can she be in her full sexual power,
Mhm.
sit in the potency of her heart and her love, and know herself as a spiritual leader and being of her own
Mm.
family, of her own relationship, of her own destiny? Right. And when women reconnect down that line, it's like, oh, this is what woman is. Like, this is what a woman is meant to be. And then it took me a little while, but I was like, oh shit, the same thing happened to men. We just didn't
Yes.
see it as much because
Mhm.
we thought that men could be amazing husbands and leaders and still have their sexual power. But actually, they were very fractured in terms of
Mhm.
you're taking something.
Right.
Like if you're married, you're taking something from your good,
Yeah.
pure wife. And so you have to go to a hooker or something
Yeah.
like that to get out your
I can't
dirty impulses.
yeah, I can no longer see her as a sexual being because she birthed my child, right?
Yeah.
That goes back to like, yeah, the religion part.
Or if you're in your heart, you don't deserve to be in power, right?
Yeah.
You have to be like only this like disembodied
Yes.
leader. And we don't realize it enough, but men were killed too. The first witches that were killed were men, male alchemists, male
Mhm.
astrologers. Yeah. And so it's like we don't realize this like spiritual reign of terror that went down on men as well. So they fractured.
Yeah.
And so what I'm
Ah,
really passionate about now is men experiencing you can be in your sexual power, deeply connected to your heart, which is women, if we're people of all genders, actually, I'm going to say crave. If you're into men, you want his primal fuck. You just want it while he's in his heart. The moment
yes.
he's disconnected from his heart, it's like, ew, get away from me. And
Right.
so men think nobody wants my primal sexual
Yeah.
gift, but it's like nobody wants that energy without your heart. As soon as
Yes.
your heart's in it, it's one of the greatest gifts ever. It's so hot.
It's so hot
And
to
then men are
align them.
remembering that they're spiritual leaders, that they actually have this mystical power. So
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, yeah, like please remember your multi-orgasmic capacity.
Yes.
Please come home to yourself because we need the divine
We
masculine on
really
this planet.
do.
Oh,
More than ever.
yeah.
More than ever. Like all this like bashing men are lonely, blah, blah, blah. Just teach them some skills here that they need and they can grow and they can truly be in their body and their power. But don't you find it funny after all, not funny, but interesting? Like people are like, after 20 years, aren't you want to pivot or there's something else? I'm like, no, there's still so much work to be done.
Totally.
And I think we have made a lot of progress, but this whole like getting men to really, and not to bash men, like they weren't doing anything wrong. It was like all ancestral. Like their dads did that, their grandparents did that. But how do we teach them this stuff? Because I believe at the end of the day, like we all want hot, incredible sex. We all want to be good lovers.
Yeah.
We don't want to be assholes. We don't want to cheat. We don't want, like, we got married for a reason or committed for a reason, but we just kind of lost our way
Yeah.
because everything out in culture and society was telling us to behave very, very differently than this stuff,
Yeah.
this work.
Yeah. That's part of that split as well of like men, you can be playboys or you can be these restricted husbands.
Right.
Like where is it to be a warrior and
It's
a
a
husband
practice,
and to
right?
like feel the beauty of, let's say, your wife being so orgasmically
Yeah.
satisfied? It's like we're rewriting culture and showing people what's possible.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Truly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I love it. So good to see you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm excited for the next phase of your career, going out into the world on bigger stages. We'll include all the links so everyone can follow you.
That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you for having me. You too. I feel like you've even peeled back more layers since I saw you like years ago. Like you just seem so bright and it just really just in yourself, in your energy and ready to just bring it out into the world.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful reflection.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to This Tantric Life. I am Layla Martin. This is the home for the realest conversations about sex, spirituality, polarity, conscious relationships, and all kinds of topics that help us live the absolute most incredible lives. Please check out the next episode. Please go ahead and leave your rating and review on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. It's so helpful when you do that. If you want to stay connected to me, the most helpful supportive thing you can do is to head over to laylamartin.com, sign up with your email address. That connects you to me if you want to study deeper with me, if you want to receive my deeper teachings. I do it predominantly via email. Finally, you can check me out on Instagram at @the Layla Martin. And thank you so much for being here.